Sylvan Lake, a beautiful lake treasure located in Alberta's busy corridor. Here, locals and tourists of all ages have been enjoying boating, water sports, swimming, and fishing for generations. Sylvan Lake is an Alberta lifestyle and recreational treasure within easy access of nearly 3 million Albertans. Located only an hour and a half from Alberta's major urban populations of Edmonton, Calgary, and Red Deer, the town of Sylvan Lake and its neighboring 5 summer villages have attracted visitors during all seasons of the year. Sylvan Lake, once called Alberta's English Bay, has attracted people to its shoreline and water since the early 1900s. Over the years, the town's library and its volunteer archiving group have captured its rich history, including the early accounts of thousands of people flocking to the gently sloped shoreline. In the 1920s, correspondent C.E. Caldwell wrote, "Sylvan Lake is fast becoming one of the most popular and attractive summer resorts in Western Canada." Caldwell went on to comment about the fine sandy beaches and clear water, making it a perfect facility for children, grown-ups, and huge parties of jolly bathers and boaters. Today, with tourists enjoying 1 million user days annually, residential settlements around Sylvan Lake have grown to include 5 summer villages and the town of Sylvan Lake, one of the fastest growing communities in Canada. Visible to all, the watershed's natural assets and quality of life have attracted more than $2 billion of residential and commercial development. But then, in 2005, alarm bells were sounded in response to aggressive rezoning and development plans for the Sylvan Lake watershed. More recently, officials representing Lacombe County and the town of Sylvan Lake announced plans to increase the population from 15,000 to 70,000. This included up to 20,000 more people in a 1-mile-wide zone of mainly agricultural land around the western section of the lake's largely undeveloped shoreline. Concerns about these projections, stated publicly by the Watershed Stewardship Society, received scientific validation when the internationally recognized expert on lake pollution, Dr. David Schindler, spoke out about Sylvan Lake's foreseeable future. Here are excerpts from an interview Dr. Schindler conducted with CBC after analyzing the impacts of the proposed development plans.
Same threat, he says, Sylvan Lake now faces.
You can read the sad history of every mesotrophic lake in the United States which has undergone the sort of development for Sylvan Lake. It isn't going to be any different. I've never known a case that has been any different. We have 50 years of science to know what not to do. And it's damn time that developers and city councils learn to use it, not turn every lake in the country into a cesspool.
A shift from Sylvan Lake's clear, clean water to a cyanobacteria-infested state is the risk of paramount concern. A blue-green algae infestation is an undesirable condition that is frequently caused by pollutants and runoff from agricultural land and newly urbanized areas. With time, the nutrient-rich lake becomes a cesspool-like green color, coupled with fish kills, putrid smells, and health risks such as swimmer's itch. Many Alberta lakes are already affected by this nasty condition. The most worrisome aspect of Dr. Schindler's warning is that once a lake is polluted by algae, there is no way to reverse it.
Now, when you come whining around with your algal blooms and all the other problems and expect some scientists to help you with them, it isn't going to happen. We don't know the cure for these problems.
This leaves the watershed community with only one choice: avoid the pollution risk. Until now, the lakes and its watershed's natural protective processes have kept the water quality stable, but community groups know that the cumulative effects of pollution loads from more development will exceed the capacity of the watershed to naturally absorb it. The Sylvan Lake watershed governance is complicated. 8 municipalities govern parts of the watershed. To avoid the negative impact of development on this Alberta recreational lake asset, local, provincial, and federal government cooperation and leadership are required. Fortunately, proven tools and methods are available to manage future development in a responsible manner. The Sylvan Lake Watershed Stewardship Society shares Dr. Schindler's assessment of pollution risks. We ask all watershed associations and government bodies for their commitment to work together and to cooperate in the development and conservation of the Sylvan Lake watershed. Specifically, we need to establish reasonable population and development goals, policies, regulations, and standards to meet or exceed the requirements for clean, clear lake water. Listen, engage, and work with both residents and environmental experts to understand and address their concerns and expectations about risk to the watershed. Apply this knowledge by implementing a watershed protection plan. Foster the responsible management of land and water by all those who are residents in or guests of the watershed. Use the watershed resources efficiently and avoid contamination. Report openly to the public on performance, achievements, and shortcomings. Continuously improve knowledge and applications of watershed science, land, and water management, and best stewardship practices so as to avoid harm to people and the environment. There are encouraging signs that watershed municipalities are starting to get the message by dedicating parts of the shoreline along some developments as a reserve and protective buffer zone, but much more is needed. It is clear that the natural values identified in the 1920s are the same values that people are enjoying today. The Sylvan Lake watershed community wants clean, clear water and recognizes that proposed urban expansion imposes unacceptable risk. The conservation challenge for governments and responsible lake users is to ensure that Sylvan Lake's values are protected.